The stage is set for the world's largest sporting spectacle. The Paris Olympic Games will kick off tomorrow with an opening ceremony that will see over 10,000 athletes cruising along River Seine on around 100 boats. The floating parade will pass through some of Paris's iconic landmarks. Team India is also in Paris with an eye on improving upon its medal tally of 7 in Tokyo, which was its highest ever. The Indian contingent comprises 117 athletes and includes 4 individual Olympic medalists, including India's golden boy, Neeraj Chopra. Over 60% of athletes in the Indian contingent are Olympic debutants. We're now joined by Adrian D'Souza, Olympian and former goalkeeper of the Indian hockey team, with us. Adille Sumariwalla, President of the Athletics Federation of India. Ashwini Nachappa, former Indian track and field athlete, with us. And we would also be joined by Divyanshu Singh, COO of JSW Sports. But first of all, let me go across to Adille Sumariwalla. Mr. Sumariwalla, you participated in the Olympic Games in Moscow in 1980. You've held records in 100 meters and 200 meters yourself at one point in time. Is every Olympic an emotional moment for you?
The Olympics is the Olympics. I mean, it is the greatest sporting event in the world at that particular time. And every athlete's dream to be at the Olympic Games. So it is the biggest sporting spectacle in the world. And that is it.
If I were to ask you about your hope from the Indian contingent, especially all your track and field athletes, what's your expectation in terms of the medal tally this time around?
I wish I was an astrologer. I would have told you more about the medal tally, but I can definitely tell you that we will do better than we did at the last games. And to me, the barometer for measurement is very simple. How many athletes qualified in London? How many qualified in Rio? How many qualified in Tokyo? How many qualified here? The next barometer is how many were in the top 8 in London? Down the road, how many will be in the top 8 here? The next one is how many are in the top 6, London to Paris? And finally, of course, how many medals in London and how many in Paris? So I think that's the barometer, and everybody should look at that process, because that process is very, very important, because we are actually just a country starting the real Olympic challenge. We are not a country that has had historically lots of medals, lots of champions. We are starting slow. Last time was 7. That was the largest number of medals in the history of Indian sport. And therefore, I think we need to go step by step. It's a long drawn out process. It's not factory where you put in a raw material and you get a finished product. It takes 2 to 3 Olympic cycles. And I'm very satisfied with what is happening. The way we are progressing, we are growing from strength to strength to strength. And I am convinced that we will come out much stronger than we were at the last Olympic Games.
Right. Neeraj Chopra is being considered the favorite after winning the gold at the Olympics in Tokyo. I'm sure there must be a lot of pressure on him, his coach as well. How are you trying to keep him insulated away from all the hype, all the pressure, make sure he's cool-headed on the day of his performance?
It's actually you media guys who create the pressure for him. There is no pressure as far as internally. The issue is everybody says he was a gold medalist, so you put pressure. No, today he's number 4. He's not number 1. He's number 4 in the world, and with the latest rankings. So therefore, we put pressure on him unnecessarily. And one of the things we've done is we've kept him away from India. And I hope he's listening to advice and not reading newspapers of India or listening to TV channels, because that puts pressure on him. As far as he's with the athletes, there is no pressure. As long as he's with the Indian team, there is no pressure. As long as he's with the coaches, there is no pressure. It's different areas, starting with the media that keep putting pressure on him, publishing his picture every single day in the newspapers because that catches eyeballs. So I think we are doing more harm by doing all this than actually supporting him to win a gold medal.
Yeah, one more question. And then... All right. So my final question to you would be about looking at India's performance at the World Championship 2023 in Budapest. Which are some of the sports within track and field that you would be most hopeful about, or you're most excited about as far as India's performance goes?
So, I mean, it's very clear that you have javelin throwers. We had 3 javelin throwers in the top 6 in the world in Budapest. We had the 4x4 relay, which within 24 hours broke the Asian record twice ran below 3 minutes. Outstanding performance. You have Sable there. You have Jeswin there doing long jump. He jumps his 840. He will be in contention in the top few. Look at Parul. There is Parul. So there are so many of them. I think the women's 4x4 will break the Asian record. I think the boys will once again break the Asian record in the 4x400 meters relay. So that's my barometer for judging performance. See, medal, it can be 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, this side, that side. These are things that happen on that particular day at that particular moment. Look, for example, Neeraj is the Asian champion, the Commonwealth champion, the world champion, and the Olympic champion. Now, in all these events, there were throwers throwing over 90 meters. Every single event that he competed in, but he has never thrown over 90 meters. At 88.58, he won the Olympic gold. Now, what do you say there? There were 4 people who had thrown over 90 just before the previous Olympics. So what happens on that day is what happens on that day. And therefore, I said, I'm not an astrologer that can predict medal, but I can tell you overall, the standard is going up, and overall, we will do better than we've done before.
All right. Wishing you the very best, sir, and wishing our team there at the Olympics the very best as well. And we're hoping for a much better performance this time around. Thank you once again for being with us. Let me also go across to our track and field star, Ashwini Nachappa, an Asian Games medalist herself, somebody who's been working for decades at the grassroots in Karnataka and across the country with athletes, nurturing them, somebody who's observed our Olympic journey very closely. Ms. Nachappa, thank you so much. It's an honor talking to you as well. Give us a sense of how far we have come over the last few decades, and especially since Tokyo, when it comes to our Olympics preparation.
Well, it's heartening to see the trajectory of our Indian athletes across board. It's not restricted to one sport. It is also heartening to see how many of the previous Olympians are going to better their performance and change the color of the medal. It's interesting to see how many young athletes are going to be the first-time Olympians, over 70 of them, and all have done brilliant performances to a run-up to the Olympic Games. The very fact that so many of them, 117 athletes, have qualified, it's no easy task to qualify for the Olympic Games. Back in our days, it was a task even for us to struggle to make it into the 4x400 relay teams. We had a number of competitions within our own, within India, without any exposure, and then to make it at that point in time. But today, most of our athletes, if you see in the last decade, the amount of time, energy, investment that has gone on to each and every one of these athletes is commendable. And the kind of encouragement given by the leader of the country to the sports authorities, to the organizations that support these athletes in every other aspect. So I think we've come a long way. We have to go further to get, as Adil rightly said, we aren't a nation that has been winning Olympic medals consistently over 2-3 decades. It has just begun. The transformation in sports can be seen now. And I think in the next 2-3 cycles, we will be able to make India truly a sporting nation.
Right. We really hope for that as well. Let me go across to our hockey star, Adrian D'Souza. Adrian, thank you very much for joining us. Lots riding on our hockey team as well. We're hoping that they'll better their performance over Tokyo. Where do you think they need to work on, and how well prepared a side is this when it comes to experience and youth mixing together?
Hi, Parikshit. Good evening. And slightly nudge with my network, but firstly, good evening to everybody in the panel. Adille sir, wishing you all the very best, because we all know what you've done as an individual and as an athlete for the sports, and especially in track and field. As Ashwini ji said, there were times when, still is, where to qualify itself is a big task. And I was part of the heartbreaker in 2008 Beijing Olympics when we didn't qualify. And watching the boys come back with bronze in Tokyo was something that we all waited for, as a sports fanatic, because hockey's been one sport where we've achieved so many gold medals, and it's like, the multitask was given to the youngsters, that is our generation, to, take up to it. And the boys have been doing very well. Of course, in the preparations in the last few tournaments, there have been a few setbacks, but I think it's better to have setbacks in matches like that than the Olympics, because Olympics won't forgive you. So one slight mistake, one bad match, can take you all the way back to ground zero. So the most important thing will be consistency, and looking at the way the hockey table is, we are playing the toughest teams towards the end, the league, that is Belgium and Australia, whereas we start with New Zealand, and New Zealand gave us the heartbreaker in the World Cup last year, where they beat us in the round of 16s. That also is going to be one of my favorite brothers, Srijesh's last tournament. I'm sure the boys are going to be pepped up even more to give their 100%, because that player has been fantastic, and we have more other fantastic players, including the captain Harman Manpreet. It's a great lineup. All we need to do is be consistent. When I say consistent, I mean consistent throughout all 4 quarters, not just one match good, one match bad. Because in the Olympics, you cannot afford to have a bad match.
Adrian,
and the format itself helps us with the quarterfinal round.
Adrian, as both Mr. Sumariwalla and as Ms. Nachappa was pointing out, that, it's very difficult to predict how many medals you'll win, but it's not something you do over one day or a couple of weeks or months. It's a cycle that you follow over many years, and we're building up. It is being said that the good times for India at Olympics are now just about to begin. Now, when it comes to our preparation, where do you think the Indian hockey side has been working on to make sure it can do much better at the Olympic level?
The number one spot is the penalty corners, because the moment we are more progressive and more attacking and get more goals in penalty corners, we've always seen that we get field goals as well. And I think the World Cup was the perfect example for us to see if we do not balance our field goals and penalty corners, it will hurt us, because we are a scoring nation and we have to be aggressive and get in more goals, because defensive, we've always had that large 5-minute torture scenes, but we've grown from it. We've been much better, including our fitness levels.
Right. Let me go across to Olympian Manavjeet Singh Sandhu as well, someone who's made us proud several times in the past. Manavjeet, thank you so much for joining us on the phone line. One question that I really wanted to ask all our Olympians, all our sports stars who are here with us today is what it is like to perform in your game at the Olympics. the day when you have to perform, minutes before it, what's really going through one's mind? How tough is that situation?
Well, we would be lying if we didn't say that the pressure of and the expectations of the nation are foremost in your mind. And in all the other games, whether it's the Commonwealth Games or the Asian Games, one is to an extent a little selfish. But it is when you get to the stage of the Olympics, for obvious reasons, all other thoughts and motivations are kept aside. And one wants to perform only for the country. And that has been on my mind, as it is, I'm sure, have been on all my fellow athletes. We need to do it for the country. So there's a mix of hope, anxiety, nervousness, and of course the confidence of having worked really hard and a feeling of being, of deserving to be at that position, a certain feeling of accomplishment of having to be deserving to be on that big stage.
Right. So we have a 21-member shooting contingent this time, Manavjeet. How hopeful are you about their performances? Any ones that you're particularly looking out for, your favorites, so to say?
Well, we've had a disappointing 2 Olympic Games, and I'm sure that our contingent is raring to get another crack at an opportunity to redeem itself. We've sent the largest ever contingent. All of them are exceptionally well prepared, talented, and all of them have earned their place. Like I said, this is now now with the quota place, it's extremely competitive just to book your place. So having beaten the world to get there, I am reasonably confident that anything less than 3 medals would be a slight disappointment. Realistically, we should aim for 3 medals.
We should aim for 3 in shooting, definitely. Let me put a question to Divyanshu Singh as well, COO of JSW Sports, also joining us. Divyanshu, thank you so much for waiting patiently. Give us a sense of whether we are, as a nation, I'm not just talking about one company or one sports committee of the Government of India. As a nation, are we doing enough to promote Olympic sports in the country? There is so much of hype and attention around cricket, and rightly so. Our teams deserve that. But our athletes, our shooters, our badminton players, our archers, they also deserve a lot of attention. But do you feel, as a nation, we're giving it that long-term vision and attention and support?
Hi, good evening. Yeah, I think right now the pathway for how the corporate sector and the public sector are coming together is becoming very, very clear. And this is one of the reasons why I think we also had the most successful Olympic Games ever in Tokyo. Now, there's a lot of sound in the background, sorry. Yeah. So that becomes very, very important. I'm wary of making the right comparisons with cricket because, truth be told, that 90% of the market is dominated by cricket, all kinds of revenue streams. But the growing realization that when you are an Olympic athlete, you are a part of the cohort of 10,500 of the finest athletes. And these are sports which are truly globally competitive sports. What I mean by that is sports like athletics, badminton, and a lot more are played by 200 plus countries. And to put that in context with cricket, which is primarily a sport which is played by Commonwealth nations, we had a World Cup in which there were only 12 nations that featured in it, right? So I think the media has to play a very, very important role in sensitizing and growing awareness that how globally tough and competitive these sports are. So it's a huge, huge celebration for an Indian athlete to make it to the Olympics. But the big shift has happened in the thinking and the psyche that now the Indian athlete is going there and he believes that he's here to win and he's here to perform, And that is a big shift that we are seeing with the younger generation, the Nikhil Zareens, the Neeraj Chopras, who are going there and who are believing in themselves that they are here to win and compete. To answer your question about are we doing enough? Now, this is well established that the number of medals that you win to a large extent are contingent on the kind of funding which is being diverted towards sport. So at 3,500 crores, which is what our sport budget looks like, it is not even 0.8% of the total budget. So if the country wants to win more medals, the country needs to start spending more on its athletes. So that's where the private sector is now coming up, and we are closely collaborating, I think, with a lot of sport federations who are also kind of, doing amazing work. And that's the reason why you are seeing that growth. You're seeing that, compliments to the Athletics Federation of India, that you have a 28-member contingent, which is almost 100% growth from where we were a decade back, So these are extremely, extremely positive signs, and our ability to hit double digits will a lot be contingent on our performance in shooting and archery.
That's right. We are going to take a short break. I'll request all our guests to stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are watching our special broadcast on the Paris Olympics. Yes, we're getting ready, and all the best to our athletes there at the Olympics. We've got a big contingent there. Let me go across to our final question to Ashwini Nachappa, our track and field star, somebody who's done us very, very proud over the last few decades. Ms. Nachappa, my final question to you would be, give us a sense. We've got at least 40 debutants in our entire team there at Paris. What would be your advice for them? How do you think the Olympics can be very overwhelming for them at times as well? Any message that you would have for them?
I would only like to say, we have one of the youngest athletes representing India, barely 14 and a half years old, in swimming. We have first-time athletes, especially in athletics and track and field. We have a high jumper, we have a hurdler, who are all taking part for the very first time. But I think they've all prepared well. The Indian contingent is well poised to bring out the best performances, having considered the number of exposures that they have got. Some of the run-up, the performance to the run-up of the Olympics has been brilliant. My only advice is pressure is there for every athlete. The top in the world is also pressurized. Pressure is always there. But the kind of mental training that each of our athletes have been given, they are well, trained mentally to be in the zone when it's needed most, because it can sometimes be overwhelming when you see world record holders next to you and you're rubbing shoulders against each other. But enjoy the moment, because this is a big moment in your career, in your life. Enjoy it, but also keep your head on your shoulder and be focused with the targets that you have set for yourself. You prepared well, be confident about what you can deliver, and then leave the rest to, everything else around. So you just have to be there, give it your 100%, and be confident about what you have trained and put the effort into. Because medals are only a byproduct.
Right, that's an important point. Be in the zone, enjoy the moment. Yes, the medal is only a byproduct. Thank you very much, Adrian D'Souza, Ashwini Nachappa, Divyanshu Singh for joining us. We've run out of time. Thank you for watching us here on CNBC TV 18. Goodbye.